Welcome to On the Issues. I'm your host, Nicholas Bowsey, and it's great to be joined with Emily Wells. She's Miss Pennsylvania 2006, and soon she will be competing in the Miss America competition. Was there a particular event that influenced you to start in pageants?
Actually, there was. My sister competed in the Miss Pennsylvania organization, and although she never won Miss Pennsylvania, she was first runner-up 3 times.
Oh, wow.
And I watched her compete in the very beginning, and I liked what she was doing. It was a forum for her to talk about her opinions, and it was also an opportunity for her to promote her platform working with children and of course, scholarship funds. I mean, we can't deny the importance of education and paying for school. So I watched my sister get involved, and I found out more about the organization, such as those components that I just named, and I decided it was something that I wanted to do. So I was at Penn State, and I was a freshman, and I decided to go out for Miss Penn State. I won, and
Cool.
went to Miss Pennsylvania. And that year, I competed against my sister, and she was first runner-up. I was second runner-up, and the girl who won was also a Penn State student who was on the dance team with us, who was like best friends with my sister. She's actually going to be in my sister's wedding. So by the time there was 3 of us standing up there, the dance team was very happy because they knew one of us was going to win. But for myself, being my first year involved in the Miss Pennsylvania organization, I just thought, wow, this is great. Maybe I could really do this. So once you do it once, you get hooked. You become a lifer, and I competed for 4 years before I won the title. I won on my 4th try.
Oh, neat.
Yeah,
Great.
so it was an interesting
awesome.
experience competing with my sister, but I loved it. It was having your best friend and your sport team literally on stage next to you during your most stressful times. So it was great.
Now, did your work at the United States Department of State
Yes.
Play a part in your platform?
Well, it does. I worked for the U.S. Department of State. I worked in the Bureau of Educational and Cultural Affairs, and I worked on the side of education, and specifically I worked with youth programs. So I worked with Youth Exchange. The easiest way to say it is my countries were all the stands. They were all the former USSR countries. So we have Kyrgyzstan, all the stands. And of course Russia and Belarus and things like that. And what I did is I served as a point person, a contact for the students when they came over to the U.S. to deal with our NGOs, our non-government organizations. If there was any problems, if there were any issues with the children that needed to filter its way up, I would be the ones dealing with them. So it was nice because I got to interact a lot with the teenagers who were over in the U.S. And what's great about the FLEX program, which is what I worked on, it's called Future Leaders Exchange. What's great about it is these students from the former USSR's countries come and they live in the U.S. for a year, and they're completely immersed in our culture. So our education, our culture, our commitment to community service, because the United States has a great foundation in instilling community service and those values in our youth. And not only that, they see the diplomatic relationships of a democratic society. And then these kids go back to their home countries and they implement programs. A lot of our students work on anti-sex trafficking drives, and they also work on other democratic initiatives. So it was great because I really felt that, although it doesn't deal directly with my program, because is working with youth serving organizations primarily in the U.S., it was nice to know that I could have more global and far-reaching impact, because these kids are going back to their schools, back to their home countries, and doing just phenomenal things that you couldn't imagine that 16-year-olds could go and do. So
Now, was this program similar to Operation Pride, the program you were involved in?
Similar. Operation Pride was my first fall in love with kids. I've always worked with kids, but this was my first initiative and program that I really decided, okay, this is what I want to do. This is what I want to do with my life. This is what I want to go to college for. This is the major. Operation Pride was a organization that was through the Community College Prevention Center, and it worked in a low-income housing project development, after school and summer hours. And it was basically a way to get the kids off the street and in somewhere safe where they could be doing productive things. So as a volunteer, I served as a mentor and also a tutor. They'd come in after school during the school year, and we'd work on their homework, get that all settled. Then we'd have activities for them to do, some life skills building activities, and then a place for them to play, hang out, watch TV, play video games, keeping them safe, keeping them off the street. And during the summer, it was kind of the same deal. But it was great because I realized that in just 15 minutes away from where I lived, it was just a community over, that things were so very different than what I was used to. I didn't come home to an empty house. I didn't come home to unsafe streets. And these kids were coming home to places that just weren't safe and that are not ideal for kids to be growing up in. And I realized that although I was still a teenager at the time, I was 16 years old when I started, that I was having a positive impact on these youth. And they were impacting me just as much, quite honestly. But I realized that my life was very different from theirs, and I wanted them to see that there's other options out there and there's ways to get out of the cycle of poverty that they were in. So it was really groundbreaking for me. It was really fundamental and really started my drive and my initiative. So it was similar in the fact that I was working with a different population than I was used to, both at Operation Pride and the State Department. But the at-risk level of the children were different. At Operation Pride, they needed that extra push. And then at the Flex program at State Department, these kids were the go-getters. They were the initiators. They didn't need that. They just needed more acclimation to the United States.
Now, at the young age of 16, was that odd for you at such a young age to be doing this with these young children too?
Sure, it was challenging because the youth center actually had kids all the way from, I think our youngest little one was 4 all the way up to 18. You could be 18 to be in the center. So I did have a couple times where we had some 17 and 18-year-olds, and they were normally guys come into the center to play basketball. Same ideal, but I was younger than them, and I'm supposed to be mentoring them and tutoring them. So that kind of got to be a sticky situation at some points, just because I was physically younger than them. But the most interesting part was most of the kids who were there, their older brothers and sisters weren't coming to the center, and they would talk to me about what their life was like for their brothers and sisters and compare it to mine, and the fact that I still lived at home, the fact that I was planning on graduating from high school, the fact that I'd already been accepted into college and was going into college, the fact that I did not have a child or was not pregnant was so foreign to them that you could do all these things, that you didn't have to do what their brothers and sisters were doing. So being young was a challenge, but I think that helped that peer mediation, because the kids could come to me, they felt like they could talk to me. I wasn't an adult who was going to judge them. You know, we could have open dialogue and open communication because I was close to their age.
And when you're on the road, reiterating your platform and speeches, do you direct it toward parents as well as kids, or just kids?
Well, I say that I do 2 things. I do kid events and I do adult events. Kid events are things like my school tour or going back to the Second Mile and talking to summer camp. And that's when I'm talking to kids, and I'm talking directly to students, and I'm telling them to make right decisions right now. I'm telling them that what they do today, tomorrow, in terms of their education, in terms of their character, in terms of their development, is going to lay the foundation for the dreams and the hopes and the goals that they have for their future. And then I also do very adult events, which is similar to what we're doing here today, fundraisers, advocacy, promotion, talking about different events, different publicity, things like that. So when I'm talking to them as well, I also mention my platform and talk to them more on an advocacy education level than when I'm dealing with the kids. I'm talking to them one-to-one directly.
Now, in your platform, I saw in the title something about, especially in the dialogue that you use, about leaving no children behind. And you being someone who was involved in education too, what are your thoughts on the No Child Left Behind Act for students?
Sure. Well, my platform is actually entitled Fostering America's Promise. And I do know that in some publicity somewhere, they mentioned that No Child Left Behind was part of the title. And technically it's not. But being involved in education and being a pillar of my platform, it's definitely important.
Playing a key role in it.
Right, exactly. And having been involved in government affairs, just adds another little check to it. However, I think that it was a positive idea, and the ideology behind it is great. Let's make schools accountable. Let's make sure kids are getting a better education. However, I feel the tangible results and the effectiveness are not what I would like to see in the United States. I still think that we're falling behind. I think the problem is the kids who need the most help, even with Title I of the No Child Left Behind, where specific funds go directly to low-income kids, go directly to the kids who are immersed in poverty. Even with that Title I don't think that the right kids are getting the right initiatives and the right programs. So I'd like to see the money used on a little more specific level as opposed to a holistic level where they're just saying, let's no child left behind. It's going to work in this capacity. I'd like to see the money filtered through at the state level as to what the needs is or what the needs are for that specific state or that specific school.
Okay. And last but not least,
Sure.
What are your plans after Miss PA or possibly Miss America?
Well, I'm sure you know, I go to Miss America in 5 days. And I'm very excited. I'm very anxious, and depending on what happens at Miss America, whether I am Miss America or not, I'm sure you can tell that kids are important to me, and that there's something that I'm definitely passionate about and something that I decided is going to be my life work. So whether or not I win Miss Pennsylvania or Miss America, I'm still going to advocate for kids. The way I'd like to do it is I'd like to continue on to school with helps of the scholarship funds from Miss Pennsylvania, get my grad program. I'd like to get my PhD in developmental psychology, become a child psychologist, and eventually, when all is said and done, I'd like to own my own practice and work with these kids to just make sure they're getting the resources and the helps and pointed in the right direction.
Well, that's great.
Thanks.
Thanks again for taking time to sit and talk to us on the show.
No problem.
Thanks. Now, your platform for Miss America is centered around diabetes. Could you provide some more insight into that?
Yes, I had specifically titled it Diabetes Awareness because in 1993 I was diagnosed with type 1 diabetes. So it was an outgrowth of personal experiences, and it was really a platform that chose me. I didn't choose it specifically for the competition, but rather chose to be in the competition because it was a vehicle or a venue for me to talk about the issue.
Okay, and what specific key parts of the issue of diabetes did you tackle?
Well, that's tough. I mean, of course, we talked about detection, the importance of early detection, signs and symptoms, but also talked a lot about prevention. And then outside of that area, about technology and what type of medical interventions can help make a person who has diabetes, their life better and easier.
Okay, and have you continued this after Miss America?
Yeah, it's actually not only a lifestyle for me since I live with type 1 diabetes, but I work in diabetes as a field full-time and have been ever since I was diagnosed with the condition. I work with various nonprofit organizations, helping run events, coming up with ideas, doing a lot of government and advocacy work, but then I also work in partnership with a lot of pharmaceutical companies, helping them address the needs of the patient, the consumer. And we work with my background in communications and now the background in healthcare and medicine, and marry the two. And how do we better communicate messages of health and wellness to a person who lives with a chronic disease or to a person who is at risk for developing a chronic disease?
What challenges have you come across doing this? I mean, it seems like a very large issue to tackle.
It really is. And the biggest challenge with diabetes specifically is it's a disease that you can't really see.
Right.
You can't look at me and say, oh, she has diabetes. And that's an advantage and a disadvantage. The disadvantage of it is that because it's not seen, because it's not evidenced clearly on an ongoing basis, it's not often taken seriously. Both by the individuals who live with the condition, the individuals who are at risk for developing the condition, but also often by healthcare professionals. And this is the challenge that we constantly face in this arena. The blessing is that I can go about my daily life and not have an overt intrusion of my disease. Now, it's top of mind, tip of finger, so to speak, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. But I can keep that to myself if I choose to.
What developments are being made in the areas of research and technology for diabetes?
Well, a great deal of research is ongoing. worldwide, really. And there are two different types of research, or at least two different buckets that I like to put it in. One is the technology research. So those are the tools and devices that are being developed right now that can impact a person with diabetes' life immediately. For instance, I wear an insulin pump, and there are glucose sensors that are being developed that you wear. It's a unit you wear. It looks like a pager, and it senses what your blood sugar is every 5 minutes.
I have someone I know, actually, yeah. It's like that.
Yeah, so
Ever
those
since he
are
was real little.
the technology things that are being honed and worked on just at alarming rates. The other bucket is the science and the basic science. And what's happening there, lots of stem cell research, lots of research on transplantation, organs, using donated organs, using organs of animals, all kinds of different things. And learning about the basic science of how cellular structures work and what is it that causes diabetes, what is it that causes the progression of the condition, and is there a switch, so to speak, that we could flip somehow genetically or with a medication that could take it away. So that's the science, and then the technology that impacts us on a daily basis.
And what kind of events have you been involved in raising money for diabetes?
Well, I've helped raise over $17 million for diabetes over the last several years. And we do a little bit of everything. I mean, from walks that are very popular, very common with nonprofit organizations, to events like that feature musicians and performance. And then direct ask fundraising, asking someone to give $5, $10. In fact, someone asked me, an organization sent me a letter this week because my birthday was this week. And they have
Happy
a program. Thank you. They have a program where they ask you to give $1 for every year you've been alive as a form of fundraising. And so there are no limits to what's possible.
That's great. And moving on to your performance in Miss America with the singing, how did that come about? Was that one of the things that influenced you to actually go out for the pageant?
Well, I never really had formal musical training. The talent that I have in vocal music is just something that happened, passed down generation to generation, and really was honed in the church. That's where I did all of my musical performances and had all of my musical involvement. And the reason I competed in the Miss America program was really for the scholarships. And the scholarships that you could earn to go to college and contribute towards your education, because I desperately wanted to receive a college degree, and I didn't know how to make that happen financially. And so Miss America became a vehicle for me to use.
And what other things influenced your platform?
Well, right after the first competition that I was in, I was diagnosed with diabetes. And so it was a very natural progression. It was also the same time that the Miss America organization was instituting the platform concept, the platform program of having women choose an issue to speak out and be public servants on. And so I had just been introduced to Miss America. I was just diagnosed with diabetes. The two married perfectly and helped me not only learn how to perform and learn how to present myself as a young woman, but interestingly, Miss America became a vehicle for me to cope with being diagnosed with a disease, because it was all happening at once, and the Miss America program became my motivator, if you will, to work harder, to be better, both with my diabetes and as an individual.
And what do you feel the title of Miss America exemplifies?
Oh, bright, forward-moving, talented women. We can't deny that there is a beauty element in the competition, but it's certainly not the strongest, most overwhelming portion of the competition. What I see that's common amongst all Miss Americas is this inner spirit, and they are a force to be reckoned with as women the ones that hold and carry this mantle of history. These are women who are moving towards change and want to see some kind of dramatic change in society.
And last but not least, your future projects, or I guess what you're involved in now?
Well, I had a baby a year ago, so much of my life revolves around this little one-year-old girl, and helping her learn how to be a young lady, a young woman. That's going to be my highest task and my greatest honor. Of course, I will continue to work on diabetes issues and healthcare issues from now until we find a cure for this disease. And I am committed to that. That's what I committed when I was participating in the Miss America program and when I was Miss America, and it's something that I've remained constant to ever since then. So in this next year, I guess you could probably look for a book from me on diabetes and pregnancy and all kinds of other things.
And you're on TV, correct?
I am. Every week on Sunday evening, I'm on CNBC. I host a talk show called D-Life, and it's all about diabetes and lifestyle issues.
And that can be seen
every Sunday, 7 o'clock Eastern Time, CNBC.
Great. Well, I want to thank you for taking time to sit here and,
thank you.
and
My
talk
pleasure.
to us. Thanks
My
again.
pleasure.
So thanks for coming on the show and joining us.
Thank you.
You're beginning in pageants. How did you start?
I actually started, it's a quite humorous story. One of my high school teachers approached me in school one day and she said, "Can you come to my office after school?" Well, this was in swimming class, and just so happens that day my swim cap tore. It ripped apart.
Ooh.
And one of my friends had one, and he was a boy, and he's like, "Just wear this." And I was like, "Okay." Well, it said Norwin swim team all over it, and I was like, "Oh, I can't wear that. I'm not on the swim team. I'm gonna get in trouble, right?"
Right.
So I go to class that day, and that's the day she asked to talk to me after class, and she was the coach of the swim team. I was like, oh my goodness, I'm gonna be in trouble. I'm gonna get detention for wearing the swim team's gear, and I'm not on it. Well, no, she approached me about joining pageants and becoming involved, and mainly for the scholarship aspect, because that's what drew me into the program. Because she said pageant, I said, oh, I'm not a pageant girl, because I never have done anything like that in my life before.
Right.
And she said, well, no, there's scholarships. And I was like, really? All right, what kind of scholarships are we talking about here? So then she explained the program and what it's really all about. And I learned how Miss America is the leading provider of scholarships to women between the ages of 17 and 24, which is truly remarkable. So to be involved with a program that does that sort of thing to provide education to us young women is truly amazing.
And what influenced your platform?
My platform is actually just from my own life. Being an only child, my parents have been so influential, and they've always been there to support me in everything that I do. And I know that I couldn't have been able to accomplish half of the things that I've done today if it wasn't for their support.
That's great.
So being involved as a big sister with big brothers and big sisters, I have that opportunity to go out in the community and encourage others to become involved so we can help children that may be living in a single parent family home. So they don't have as much encouragement there. And it's not because their parents don't love them, it's just there's so much going on today. Just think about the economic demands placed upon our society and being able to provide food and shelter and clothing for your children. It's expensive. So they might not be there as much because they're out working. So being able to have a big brother or a big sister involved in their life can help them to lead them to become involved in school rather than turning to drugs and alcohol and getting involved at a really young age. So you can become involved with them. And my little sister, Shondasia, out in Pittsburgh, I've got her to do all kinds of things. She just joined the cheerleading squad and the chorus. So being able to watch her grow and learn, and it's just truly amazing.
That's great.
Yes, thank you.
And I guess traveling all around?
Yes, yes. Traveling, it's entertaining. It's a lot of fun. I mean, the road trips in the car with mom and dad, and we have the boyfriend here this weekend. So just getting to the places is quite the event itself, because there's all sorts of funny things that happen in the car. And then once we're actually here, we have a great time. So like today at an event like this, the Cabaret, it was so much fun being able to listen to the girls sing and entertain. Well, I can't sing because I'm a baton twirler, but being able to listen to the talents of others is it's very relaxing. It's something nice to do on a Sunday afternoon.
Now, will you continue in pageants? Or?
I
Or you
will.
have
This
something
year
else?
I'll be competing for Miss Pennsylvania
Oh,
this
okay.
summer. So as
Nice.
Miss Golden Triangle, I'll be traveling out to Nazareth to compete. This will be my 4th year competing for the title. And who knows where we'll go from there. Maybe I will be crowned Miss Pennsylvania, maybe not. And if not, maybe I'll come back and compete another year because I do have another year of eligibility left.
Now, will your platform change, or will you continue?
I'll
with the same
continue with
one?
Big Brothers and Big Sisters. Although Miss America is putting a new program in place this year that whoever is crowned Miss America, she's going to be working with the Children's Miracle Network. And in the past, Miss America would just spend her year of service devoting her time to her platform that she held
Okay.
as a local title holder and as a state title holder. But this year, Miss America, the organization itself, is putting this into place. So
So no matter what your platform is, you'll be involved in
that program. So this year they've selected the Children's Miracle Network for that. So it's something new and exciting. And Miss America, it's constantly changing, and the pageant itself being moved to Vegas within the past 2 years. So just the changes, and I think it's good to embrace these changes because they seem to all be very positive ones for the organization.
What do you think Miss America exemplifies? The actual title.
I just think the 4 points of the crown: success, scholarship, leadership, and style. Just she's a woman of all different areas. She's talented, she's intelligent, she's beautiful. She knows her current events and what's going on in the world, and she can walk into a room full of business individuals and carry on a
Right.
conversation about them at their level, and that's something that's truly amazing. So to be one of those ladies, I feel truly honored.
Now, when you walk into the room of like one of these pageant interviews, what's the process? How do you prepare for something like that?
I think the best thing to do is just be yourself, which sounds, I know it's hard because when I walk in the room, I struggle to do it myself too because you're nervous. How
Yeah.
can you not? You're walking into a room with a panel of judges between 5 and 7,
Right.
and you have 12 minutes of questions.
Wow.
They can
They just
ask
fire
you
them at
about anything. So your interview, you could be talking about your talent, and the next minute they're talking about the war in Iraq. So you have to be poised and able to just think on your feet and react quickly and be able to carry on a conversation and allow them within those 12 minutes to get the best chance that they can to get to know you as a person.
Right.
Which, how can they get to know me in 12 minutes? I don't know. It's pretty tough, but you do the best to just be yourself and let them get to see who you are.
Well, it seems like you're doing great.
All right,
and,
thank you.
You must have done very well in the interview. You've got the title, and you're moving on.
Yes,
so it's great.
thank you very much.
Thanks for sitting
Thank
and
you
taking
very
time
much,
to talk
Nick.
to us.
Thank you.
Thanks. Thank you for joining me for this edition of On the Issues. We'll see you next time.
Like a flower waiting to bloom, like a light bulb in a dark room. I'm just sitting here waiting for you to come on home and turn me on. Like a desert waiting for the rain, like a school kid who's waiting